Welcome to
Hello,
Cyberbytes, the
Joseph.
podcast. How are you, Ron?
Great, great. How are you doing?
I'm
I'm here in
good,
your
mate.
hometown in London.
I know. Yeah. It's a shame. I'm 2 hours south now in Bournemouth, but maybe at Black Cat. Are you going to be at Black Cat next, what, 2 weeks away?
No, no. I was supposed to come for Black Hat, but yeah, customers brought me here earlier, and I'll have to be in LA for different whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, next time you're in town, we'll definitely grab a coffee or something stronger. I know you've been traveling a lot, mate. So, how's the move since being in New York? How's that all gone?
I gotta say, first time went to New York, I spent a week in New York. I guess was about 3 weeks ago, and I hated it. I hated New York. It was overwhelming. It was smelly. It was intense. People were mean. Like it was bad. And so when it came the point to decide where I'm going to move to in the US from Israel, I had what are the core, there aren't that many options as big as the US is. Like when you really think about it as like a, young guy, like what's the fun places to be? It's like, either California, Austin maybe, Miami maybe, Denver, Boston, New York, right? Like I feel like that's probably the list. And so I asked like a bunch of entrepreneurs like where I should move to, and then like everyone gave me very passionate answers. You have to be in the West Coast because that's where the customers are, or you have to be in New York, or you have to be in Miami. And then I just spoke to one guy, and he responded like mad. He was like, "Dude, you're wasting everyone's time. Like, spend a week here, spend a week there. Just what it is, see what you like." And I really enjoyed Boston. I gotta say,
Yeah.
Boston was really fun. Palo Alto was the worst, personally. Everything shuts down at like 5 o'clock. There's nothing to do there. Um, and time zone wise, I realized working with Israel from the West Coast was very, very tough.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm still very involved there. So New York became the leading option.
Love that. And it's all going well. I've seen a few, I've interviewed a couple of other founders like from Grip and Entro. They've actually moved to Boston. And I know there's a few unicorn, specifically cyber unicorn companies over there, and the cyber ecosystem is great. But yeah, New York, good choice. I'll be out there in February, so I'll let you know. But look, Ron, let's dive into it, man. I know with all my guests, I like to take it back to where it all began and sort of how you got into the industry, leading up to now founding Entitle. So if you could run us through that, that would be great.
Sure thing. So I grew up in Dallas, Texas, and then I grew up in Dallas, Texas. Then I moved to Israel right before high school. And in Israel, I started my journey in cybersecurity. As you know, there's mandatory service in the army, and so I joined the intelligence directorate and did cybersecurity research for a few years, and a few years turned into a few more years. And that's where I met a lot of great friends. That's where I met Avi, my co-founder. We both had started our journey together. And not to talk too much about my time there, but when we finished our service, we kind of started to think about what was the next thing to do. And we knew we wanted to do something together. We knew we wanted to start a company. Frankly, the opportunity was ripe too. We were both still very young, still very with no commitments, no kids, no mortgages, and so I think we're very fortunate to understand, to be in the position and to realize that we could go a while without pay. We could survive without a salary. We had saved, while military salaries aren't high, you don't spend a lot while
Yeah.
you're in the military, and so we had saved some money up right before, and it was COVID, so there weren't a lot of places to spend your money anyways to begin with. And so it was really cool. Like we knew we could set a bit of time aside, um, to pursue something without the pressure of needing a salary. And so that's when we started our ideation and started researching the many different options. The world is big, and so I think if anything, the downside of having not having a timer, a ticking bomb, was we were able, just both benefit and bad thing is we were just all over the place. We spent 2 weeks in the hospital trying to figure out what we can do in the ultrasound space. We spent a month going down the data lake space. Like there were a lot of different things that we had pursued, but I think deep down we kept going back to access management as kind of we were looking left and right when we saw what companies were raising capital for is, all this like next gen AI stuff. But when you look at what companies get compromised for, it's boring old IT dude has access to production, or customer success team has access to everyone's environments and has a duplicate password. So like something about like the risk profile and where people were spending their time didn't seem to align. And so we knew there was something to be done there. And just figuring out what and how to do is what led us to start Entitle. Is we went down that road and trying to figure out what could be really done differently.
Yeah, nice. Because I've listened to you in the past, and you've called it quite. I think the word you used was the same old boring PAM. But when you really look at it, and you mentioned credentials and how IT staff are being victims and things like that, it really is an interesting space. So how big of an issue and problem is this for folks?
Um, that's one of the biggest things that we had focused our time on, because everyone is so busy all the time with so many things. And so making sure that we're focusing our time on something that's priority is by the way, more challenging than you would think. It's easy. You'd think if you ask someone like how important this is, then they'll just tell you, hey, this isn't that important, or this is very important. But the thing is that, and I've spoken about this in the past, I think a bit of, classic mom test issues is, what understanding what is priority for someone and how long, when are they going to actually change it and fix it. There are a lot of big problems that we have to undertake in our world, and there's a question of when. And if you don't have something that you can attach to a compelling event, it's somewhat challenging. That's, by the way, one of the challenging aspects of access management, and the good parts of the space that we've gone down is, people generally don't need to be convinced of the importance of access management. Everyone kind of understands that it's very important and it's a challenging space. What people do need to be convinced is that things can be done differently. Everyone is so used to a very old and slow moving system that it's very hard to see success in. Frankly, as a CISO, no one wants to undertake an access management project because it's doomed for success. It's doomed for failure. Excuse me. It's not the best way to sign your name off in a company's project. And so, convincing CISOs that things are being done differently, and Entitle really brings an innovative solution that enables quick value and quick success has been one of the biggest things I've been focused on.
Yeah, let's talk about the solution. So can you talk about the different features, or is there two products in one? Can you talk us through each sort of the core aspects?
For sure. So, let's talk a little bit about the challenge of access management. I'll take a step back first.
Yeah.
I'd say that access management can be divided into two core aspects. One is the more governance side, the retrospective visibility of who has access to what, removing access that is no longer needed, compliance needs, right? User access reviews, recertification, are all things that we're familiar with. And then the other side is what's called provisioning. Provisioning is the operational day-to-day of how you get access. Joe joins company X. How does he get his laptop and his key card, but also a permission, the permissions he needs in Salesforce and the permission she needs in AWS. And that process is very IT DevOps intensive. Mm-hmm. It's a very manual process. And that's what we kept seeing basically in a lot of these companies, is that when it came to the actual giving and taking away of access, it was a very manual, ServiceNow ticket processed by a person that then goes in. And even if automation was in play, it was on the approval process. It wasn't on the provisioning, it wasn't on the actual change management. And so basically the idea was, we realized if we automate the process of how employees get access, then not only will the business like us because SLAs will go down, IT and DevOps teams won't have to process 30% of these tickets that are access requests, but also from a security perspective, you can now make it easier to remove access when it's no longer needed, because I have the context. We know why this permission is given. It is given, as part of addressing a customer need. This was the ticket that was associated with that need, and therefore the ticket is resolved, the permission is removed. That's just an example, right, of a policy you can create. But the idea being, it's a very flexible system. And that's, by the way, again, one of the challenges of access management is it's a very business specific challenge. Different businesses have different needs. And so what we've built is a very flexible platform that basically now enables companies to create the different policies they need, whether it's around customer success access or engineers accessing prod, or it's people accessing PII and databases, BI, tens of different use cases, and then being able to create policies that automatically provision, deprovision access based off of these conditions.
Yeah. With regards to that, just putting a security lens on it, having a vendor like you with such access to an enterprise or mid-market play, how would they have confidence in you or as a vendor that this is the right thing to do?
Yeah, as you might imagine, it's a question we get a lot,
Yeah,
and I think that's been one of the biggest things that we've been focused on. We're all security engineers originally by training, and the promise of Entitle was bringing a security centric approach to what was historically considered an IT problem. So we obviously always tell our customers, we have a very secure database using the cloud called Pastebin. It's just put it on. It's public available. I'm joking. Pastebin is like it's almost like putting on a Facebook. No, I mean what we do is what we have is a hybrid deployment that basically enables our customers to keep all their sensitive information inside their environment. And so in reality, there's very little trust being put on Entitle.
got it. I've seen that you've just got a partnership with AWS Marketplace as well. How many integrations now are you rolling with? Is it like 100 plus, something like that? Are we considering the short time frame
Yeah,
you've been going? Like I was shocked how many there was.
well, we've built out a pretty strong expertise internally about how to maintain and build these quickly. As you might imagine, like there's a lot of infrastructure involved in how to do things, but it's important for me to emphasize it's not only the breadth but also the depth of the integrations, right? There are some applications which are frankly very easy to integrate with. Zoom, for example. Actually, Zoom is a bad example. They have horrible developer programs, but sorry, Zoom, if you're listening. Um, there's a lot of applications that are their permission management model is fairly simple and straightforward, is what I'm trying to say. And there are other applications that are very complex. AWS permission management, you can get a PhD, and I think people literally have gotten a PhD in AWS permission management, and that's just one of many. It could all three cloud providers, databases, services, Salesforce, CRMs. Like there are a ton of applications that have a very complex internal model, and so we've invested a lot of our efforts internally on understanding deeply these different applications. Which is, by the way that we're able to provide a quick time to value. The way that we're able to provide a quick deployment is because we pre-researched these. Just give us an API token, and we'll do all the work for you.
Yeah. Is that meaning are you a cloud or on-prem then? Is it cloud based or both?
Yeah, well, the solution is cloud based. What I meant when I said the hybrid deployment is there is a core part of Entitle that sits on-prem, quote
Got
unquote,
it.
inside your VPC, just so that it's in your perimeter and your control. By the way, not all customers use that. There are some that have a more cloud-centric approach, but you got the idea.
Yeah, nice. I know you've mentioned that you've got customers at the moment. How important have they been in the progression of Entitle as a product?
I think the thing that on a personal level, not even entitled, on a personal level, the thing that I've been the most fortunate about is having amazing people that believed in us early on, primarily angel investors, CISOs, like people that have done it, people that knew the challenge, people that knew how hard it was, joined us from day one, and it's been an incredible, incredible backing. And the others, the customers, which are just as important, people that took the bet on us early on. Frankly, we all know that working with a startup in its early stages is a bet. It's something that you don't do lightly. You have a few bullets, quote unquote, that you can use like that throughout your career, throughout the time in your company. And so we were really fortunate that a good set of initial customers had used bet on us early on. I would say that's one of the benefits of the tech community is that just people understand the importance of innovation. People are keen, even as we grow right now. What's interesting is those challenges don't change, right? You still need to get people to bet on you. It's just that the stakes get higher, right? Instead of aiming for companies that are a few tens of employees, race to a few hundreds. You make it to a few hundreds. Now you need to convince companies at a few thousand, you get to a few tens of thousands, and so on and so forth. And so at every stage, you keep meeting these people that are really thirsty for innovation, really trying to understand what could be done differently in the space. And I think there's a lot of they're very mutually beneficial relationship there in terms of, if you really deliver as a startup, which is its own challenges, but if you really do
Yeah.
deliver, then you can provide the stakeholder with a really impressive win to their boss and to their company. And so being able to articulate that and prove that out quickly has been one of my focuses recently.
How's it evolved, or how is this space evolving? Because I can imagine in the time of you starting Entitle, a lot's changed. And you mentioned about business changes and things like that. But over like maybe the last 10 years, how has the space evolved?
Even over the last year, the
Yeah.
space has evolved significantly. Whether it was just even in the VC community when we first started talking about active management, it was the most boring part that no one wanted to talk about. And literally today, everyone is talking access management. Everyone realizes it's important. So that just the importance and the focus that it has gotten from CISO's perspective as well. When you see a lot of surveys on what CISOs are focused on, access management continues to rank first, second, sometimes third, but very, very, very high on their priorities. And so I think that the focus on access management has just increased. The other thing that I think has changed is the understanding of why cloud access management is different than what used to be done. And, we were talking about the convergence of IGA and PAM for a few years now, and finally you can hear the industry start understanding that as well. And whether it's the IGA and PAM vendors themselves or Gartner and the customers also understanding that the problem space is overlapping and converging as well.
Well, is this still being categorized as PAM by Gartner, or is it something new coming out? Or
They at one of their last conferences they had a really fancy slide with like three Venn diagrams and a line going down the middle and examples of vendors. So I don't know if there's a new term for it. It's definitely by the way, even with internally at Entitle, we've been going back and forth on how we want to call it, right? Because we can't go around saying, yeah, well, it's somewhere in the middle, and let's talk about it for 3 hours and explain. People don't have time for that. And so, you'll notice that we've started calling it more and more PAM exactly for that reason, just so that at least people know where to start, and then you can expand from there. So I don't know if there's a clear cut answer for that yet.
yeah, fair enough. As a founder, a lot of people on the pods talk about like challenges they faced and things like that. I wanted to ask you what success, or can you share a success story that with us with Entitle, or how you've benefited a client and reduced and improved productivity?
Yeah, there's actually a very recent example where I was very proud of. Um, a customer had come to us that was or prospect at the time, come to us very educated about the space, uh, knew all the players in the space, had trialed a few, like was very, very, very knowledgeable. And so, as you might imagine from an ego perspective, like, everything kicks into high gear, like, oh, like we have to win this.
Yeah.
It's, being left and right is just like, of course we have to be number one here. So, um, we started the POC process and, we can talk about that, but that went by very quickly, from day one to like full deployment from the first demo we saw to full on, procurement and full on deployment in the company. I think it was a month end to end, including everything. And only rolled out to initially it was hundreds of employees that were using it. And so that was why we started Entitle. That story was what we had hoped for when we started. We said access management programs are known for taking years. We're going to come with a quick to deploy solution that you can see value from within the week. And that was what happened. It was a week and a half, not a week, but within a week and a half from the closed one, from the signing of the PO, the product was fully deployed. And so that was a very, very, very proud moment. I think from a internal perspective that it's not just marketing gibberish. We're actually delivering on what we promised and what we wanted to do. Now, granted, there's a lot more to be done, and I
Yeah,
don't want
yeah.
it to seem that it's not the case, but that was a proud moment.
At what point did you decide to take VC money as well?
Um, that's a great question. We could talk hours about the benefits and downfalls of taking VC money. I think again we had identified incredible partners early on. And as young, frankly, early stage entrepreneurs, we wanted people around us. We wanted to surround ourselves with a strong peer group that we could talk to and hear and learn from, frankly. I joke that in high school, when I moved to Israel, my parents rather, used to pay for private lessons in Hebrew so that I could learn. And, it feels like now I get paid to get private lessons from all these extremely talented people that frankly, you couldn't pay them for their time because their time is so expensive that it's not even for sale. And so the irony of it kind of, and like these people are making time for me so that I can be better at my job. I think that was the learning opportunity there for us was very, very attractive. And we could go down the economics aspect of it as well. And the other answer is we really wanted to build something big. There's the joke of some people want to be rich and some people want to be king. And we really wanted to build something big and significant, something that could really show change for the industry and be a leader in the cybersecurity world. And not going to say it's impossible bootstrapping. We had originally bootstrapped, by the way, a different initiative. We'd worked 8 months on a bootstrap before we started Entitle. So something that we did consider deeply, but we knew that the chances of building something huge align with the VC model.
What's the future for Entitle, Ron?
I wish I knew. If you know, let me keep me posted. But I will say that we're at a really exciting point. Startups have kind of graduation points from having a deck to having its first customer, and then having that first customer to maybe the first 10, 20, 30. But then there's kind of that shift that needs to happen from, all right, we have a product, we have customers that are renewing, there's a customer success team. Basically, the whole operation shifts from kind of bootstrap, like a few friends in the garage really working something together, to a company that needs to have the infrastructure of what you expect a company to have: an HR team, a customer success team, a sales team, a marketing team, like all these different pillars, and building that out, building a management team. That was kind of what we've been focused on over the last few months, and definitely what's next over the next year.
Well, Ron, I wish you all the best of success. Enjoy the rest of your time in London, my man, and I'll see you soon, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed today's show, please like and share with your friends and colleagues, as this is really important for the show's reach. If you'd like to be our next guest or are interested in Aspiron Search's staffing solutions, please get in touch directly with me or reach out to us via our website www.aspironsearch.com.